Recording now. Right, so welcome everybody to the first show for Ava Technologies. We're an AI technology business, software development company, and we're building our own product, which is Ava Mind, which is our AI therapeutic assistant. It's on the App Store. Feel free to check it out, download it. It's also on, obviously, Google Play. So the purpose of Will and I, there's Will over there. Say hi, Will.
Hey.
So basically, we wanted to, we work in AI and development, and we thought we're in the space. It's moving fast. We've done a few talks, and we thought we'd just be able to just jump on here without too much thinking and just chat about what we're seeing in the space and share a little bit about what we're doing. So on that note, maybe a quick intro from me. What shall I say? I'm Ben Parry. I'm one of the co-founders of Ava Technologies. I guess I tend to be on product marketing and like all small teams, we get stuck in and do a bit of everything. Will, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Will Lamington. I'm again a co-founder of Ava Technologies, and I work on the technology side mostly. I also delve into the business and the operations, but again, as Ben said, because we're a small team, we all get stuck in all areas. But yeah, that's me.
Awesome, brilliant. So, guys, you'll have to forgive us. This is our first one, but the general format is going to be a video podcast every day, and just a quick one. We're probably going to do live streams. This isn't a live stream, but we'll probably just jump on as a live stream every sort of 9 o'clock-ish. Quickly share what's happening in the news. We're going to have segments identifying a few conversation pieces that we're seeing. I'm going to limit each one to 5 minutes strictly on the clock that I'll be timing, so we can sort of keep the momentum and get through it, because as ever, there's tons to discuss and talk about. We'll also give you, after the news segment, we'll share a little bit about what we're doing, about some of the innovations that we are implementing. And I think maybe the format will develop and evolve over time. Again, we're not trying to spend too much time thinking about too much, other than just sharing little bits of our knowledge and sharing what we're seeing in the space. So that's really it. So on that note, Will, let's get the timer going.
Screen. Well, no, before I do that, let me share my screen, and then you can add it to the stage. Essentially, we have picked out several key things that we found. We look at multiple sources across the internet. I mean, I'm very interested in technology anyway, so a lot of these are the things that I found interesting in the last 24 hours. Sometimes it'll be what I find interesting. Sometimes it will be what Ben finds interesting. And we're just going to jump on, as Ben said, and talk about it for 5 minutes. It's going to be very opinionated. So if you're not into that, then there we go. But I will share the first one to the stream, and then Ben can open it up. There we go. So this is the timer running?
Let me check. Yeah, it's going. We've got 5 minutes.
It's going. So this was a very interesting article that I found, which is, it's not even an article, it's an open letter from Mark Zuckerberg to Meta. And this is him talking about the future of the company and where he wants to aim Meta's resources. So this is very interesting. A few years ago, he was very all in on the AR and the VR and doing all sort of the virtual universes. And it's very interesting to see him slowly pivot towards what he's calling personal superintelligence. His belief, basically to summarize this article, is that everybody will have their own personal superintelligence, and it will basically elevate what we do as humans. And Meta wants to play a big role in that, in bringing that in an open way. They want to bring it in a way that we elevate ourselves as humans and we pursue our ultimate happiness. It's very, it's an interesting position. I mean, it's almost very, very optimistic view of it, which I think is a good thing. But yeah, it's almost sci-fi-esque. It's weird.
Definitely. You know what? When you look back just to a few years ago, you're absolutely right. And how Facebook, obviously, changed their name to Meta. Meta, the Meta universe. They were so focused on that as
all
their
in on it, yeah.
sort of, core sort of I guess, vision. And I mean, that was what I mean. The metaverse was really kicking off. What was it? 2020, 2021, 2020, 2021. I would say it was quite hot, wasn't it? And it was
they've been going a while because they acquired.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been going a while because they acquired Oculus. I mean, Meta's done this thing over the last few years anyway. I mean, probably longer. Where I don't know if you even remember, they were involved in a crypto-based project called Libra, where they got many other. I believe that's correct. Where they got many other sort of partner companies to come in on that sort of board of Libra, and that was meant to be sort of this open currency across the world. And obviously they switched away from that, went all in on the metaverse. They acquired Oculus, and now they've shifted again to AI. It does sometimes feel like Mark Zuckerberg goes with the trends of the time. But again, maybe that's what makes them such a successful company, is that they're not afraid to pivot as well and take on new missions and visions, as the world develops.
Well, 100%. I think that's something that we can probably all learn from. Well, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? When you look at where we sort of started from. We started from even though you've got a computer science background, we started predominantly in marketing, didn't we? In 2017, and then I think it was sort of 2019 we started to much more focus on software and products, and I think we just sort of had that sort of moment to think, actually, this is where we want to focus on the real niche stuff, the areas that we can actually sort of add value. So and we've just gone into that niche world, haven't we? And AI is that, I guess, ultimate niche, which is super exciting.
Yeah, so I think some people will read this as, well, it's Meta pivoting again for the next hot thing, but I think in lots of ways it's a great lesson for business as well, is that don't be afraid to pivot, with the times as well. So it's good.
What do you think? We got about 1 minute 30. What do you think it says about the AI space as a whole, in terms of, you've got now Meta poaching a lot of their engineers from the other big players like OpenAI? How's that battle going to sort of unfold, do you think?
I think it's really interesting what Meta have done. I think it's a real arms race, and it's also mixed in with a really weird sort of sentiment that I've noticed reading this. They almost make it sound profound, spiritual, even, like everyone's having these personal super intelligences to elevate their self-worth and their being, and it's a very odd stance, but it's a heated arms race, really. There's a lot of stuff coming out of China, which I'm sure we will talk about at some point, not today but another time. And the US it's almost like a modern day Cold War over AI. You have the East and the West fighting to build this sort of super intelligence, this AGI, whatever that vision is. It changes person to person, but no, it's very interesting.
Do you think Meta are going to be able to catch up with OpenAI?
In some senses, they already have. I think they're playing from, in my personal opinion, they're playing from a relatively even playing field. They have a lot of resources.
That's time up. We've got to move on. We're now literally on to the next topic, which is, my alarm stopped. There we go. Next topic is,
shall I share it?
Vibe code is legacy code.
This was another really interesting thing that I found and was reading about. It's from a couple of days ago now, but I found this article fascinating because, again, if you're in the tech world or you're a coder or an engineer doing, working on software, you'll have definitely heard of vibe coding. And I know even in like the marketing world, it's a very marketing term. I know you'll have heard of vibe coding. We've spoken about it at length as well. And it's basically how AI is integrating into our workflows, as software engineers, and also allowing the skill level to drop. So people with potentially non-technical backgrounds can get into coding and creating stuff using tools like Cursor or Claude Code, or whichever choice you want to make. And essentially, it's embedded on the computer, using one of these tools, and you can ask it to create your software. It can read files, it can write files, it can run commands, basically can act as a software engineer. And there's a big debate going on about how much you should integrate vibe coding, which is where you purely use the AI to create the software. So this is not you looking at the code. You're basically working as a project manager with the AI and it's creating things on your behalf. And that's called vibe coding, when you just get into the group, get into the vibe of it. This is interesting because there is a lot of criticism to doing this, and this is what this article goes into, is it's trying to make the case that you shouldn't vibe code things. There's a place for vibe coding, but you shouldn't vibe code things if you want longevity. The idea is they're framing it, so the author here, Steve Krause, makes the argument that anything that you vibe code is already legacy, because you simply don't understand what is being produced. And therefore, if you continue to build up a massive code base of work with this AI and you don't understand anything of it, it will get so big that it's impossible then to understand how it all works. So if it goes wrong, your only port of call is to then ask the AI to fix it. So this is making the argument that you should use vibe coding to prototype, to create things quickly, to work on small code bases. But if you want to create anything bigger, then you should 100% take a different approach. That's not to say you can't use AI assistants to code, but purely just writing a prompt and allowing it to do whatever it wants, that's the danger.
There was an interesting scenario that blew up the other day, wasn't there? With a company called, an app called, was it T?
T.
I mean, so do you want to sort of share with the audience? That's an interesting one. I've heard about this story.
That's an interesting one. It's not 100% confirmed that T was built using vibe coding. I mean, there's some sources that say it was. So we'll go on to the assumption that it was, because it is an interesting story. So this T app, which is, whatever you think about it, was an app, for like branded as online safety for women, dating safety for women. And the sources that say it was vibe coded say that because it was leaked. There's been a huge data leak on it. Pictures and IDs of 72,000 odd women were leaked, and there was an argument there that it was vibe coded because that they forgot to put in the security rules into their storage that allowed anybody to access their public storage and pull what was in there. And this is whether this was vibe coded or not. I mean, again, I'm not sure. If these sources are true, if it was, then let us know. But this is also an interesting frame anyway, because this happens a lot, and you hear about it a lot with lots and lots of different apps, that people end up coding their application with AI using something like Lovable or Bolt or Cursor or Claude Code, and they put it out there, and then they end up, because they haven't understood what it's created per se, then it ends up with all sorts of security problems, bugs. The code itself usually ends up a mess if the code base gets big enough. So the T is the latest of many stories where you've ended up with huge problems with your app, whether that be a security vulnerability or something else like people bypassing subscription gateways, all sorts of issues. T is the latest in that saga, and it most certainly won't be the last with this sort of attitude. That being said, Steve Krause in this article, going back to this article, makes a really interesting argument that obviously you don't know where this is going to go, and things like coding with AI is getting better and better and better, and you don't know where you'll be. There you go.
I'm going to jump in there. Perfect. Thank you for doing that. That was amazing. I need to make sure I stop my timer. Otherwise, it's going to keep going off at me. There we go. Yes. So that's interesting. So what I think, just quickly on that, it's phenomenal what AI and these tools are enabling people to do. People with no skills, no coding or development, skills are able to now produce apps and products. But so that barrier to entry to it's more important about the idea and product market fit and all the rest of it. So it's really democratizing, I guess, opportunities, which is phenomenal. And obviously everyone's sort of experimenting and diving deep into it. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
And massively, again, it's a massive productivity boost for people that are already in the software engineering world. The amount that you can get done using AI to assist you is incredible. I think at this point, the accepted sentiment amongst developers is you should probably just understand, or definitely understand what the AI is outputting. Never accept it, if you haven't understood what it's done. And that's the thing. But also going back to AI integrations into workflows. I mean, it's massively integrated into all workflows, not just software development, but marketing, the things that it's elevated us to be able to do in-house that we probably would not have been able to do, or at least to the same extent that we've been able to do it over the last few years. It's a crazy world.
Yeah, the speed, the scale, and all the rest of it. I think one thing, though, is always challenging for organizations and businesses is their lack of knowledge and lack of awareness of the risks. And that's where, the people who are building these things might know of their dangers or their sort of limitations. But ultimately, in the world where people try to, make a quick buck, they're often not too worried about those sort of things. It's a classic case of build it fast, break it, and worry about the consequences later. So I think for organizations and businesses, they need to be acutely aware of whatever team they're, asking to do a project or a job, making sure that, making sure the underlying nature of it is solid, I guess, is the key thing for Joe Blogs. If Joe Blogs is listening to this podcast or YouTube videos, just being aware of who's building it and how they're building it.
I think this is the thing with AI in general, is that it can go wrong. And unlike other technologies or other things where you can build fast and break things, I think if AI goes wrong, it can go quite wrong. Really quite wrong. And it can have a lot of detrimental effects. And there is a fundamental lack of understanding, especially among people that aren't necessarily technical. And there's people putting out products, that feature AI. And to a lot of people, I think it almost seems like a golden bullet, and their expectations of what it can do are high. And it is getting better and better. But as I said, if it's misused, it can go quite wrong. And that's something you should be really acutely aware of as a business.
Absolutely. And well, I guess on that note, we'll pivot to talking about what we're doing in terms of some of the latest innovations. But just briefly on that point, that safety element is something that we're massively acutely aware of. For those of you who don't know who are listening, we're building basically a mental health and wellness app, which has an AI therapeutic assistant. So obviously, that being in that space, we are super aware of how much good we can do, but also if it's done badly, how much damage it could be done. So I think just touching on that, Will, how are we? Do you want to share with the audience how we're approaching that?
Yeah, it transcends across all areas of the business, really, from the content that we put out in terms of articles to the technology that we're using. We've quite possibly picked one of the hardest niches to implement AI into. Oh, sorry, my computer's going to cool. I'm sorry. We have picked probably one of the hardest niches to go into and implement AI because of these safety measures. I think one of the big things that we have to watch out for is privacy and things like that, and also what the AI is actually outputting to people, especially people that might be using it, in terms of trying to, address mental health concerns and their own vulnerabilities. Then you've got to be really careful. So we've done several things on the privacy front. We're making a lot of strides into running these models locally. This is something that we'll talk about more on overcoming videos, and it's something that's very prevalent within the technology news. But one of the big things is getting models that scale down so that they can run happily on consumer hardware, like your phone, like your computer. Because at the moment there is a privacy concern. What might happen is you send your data, it's across the board, not just for what we're doing, but general business intelligence technologies. You're sending massive amounts of written text and images and files to third-party servers like OpenAI, Google, or whoever you happen to use.
And this happens now. This happens now.
Yeah.
Regardless of AI, it's happening when you're using Facebook. It's happening when you're using Google. It's happening when you're using Google Drive, maybe for your work documents.
One of the things I think we're increasingly passionate about is bringing a bit like Mark Zuckerberg's sentiment on personal superintelligence is at least I'm very passionate, I know you are too, about bringing this technology and making it accessible to people. And one of the ways that I think is going to happen is by making this local to you, working on your phone. It's private, it's secure, and that's something we really want to add to. So that's the big thing that we're working on at the moment, is how can we bring this AI access to your phone. It's something hopefully we'll have a big update on very soon. But if we achieve it, that means when you download Ava Mind, you don't even have to have internet access. You can talk to our AI therapeutic system, Ava, and the data won't go anywhere. It will stay local to your device. So that's the first thing we're trying to mitigate within the technology. The second is, how do you put up guardrails so that, because AI is wrong quite a lot of the time. So how do you get it to stop it saying something that it shouldn't do? For example, if you say you are having suicidal thoughts, or even something less, more subtle, like I don't want to be here anymore, is like a sentiment. That means we know what that means, but as an AI, it might not pick up on that nuance of those words, and especially a small model that runs on a phone, it might not pick up that nuance. So we have to put in guardrails, and we have to be careful about what the AI is outputting to protect users, from harmful output. So that's again an ongoing technology challenge and something we're trying to actively mitigate.
Yeah, that's what privacy is so important, and I think it's something that is going to become more prevalent in all aspects of our lives as we become, I guess, more connected than ever. And it's really interesting, because effectively, I guess what we're going to see is people will go, they'll have a choice. They'll say, okay, I can either just create an account with OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Copilot, or whoever, and it's nice and easy, and the interface is all easy, and all the rest of it. In many respects, like the way people do now, versus, okay, maybe I've got to take a few more steps and have my own AI model on my device. And I guess in similar ways that people might have a VPN, they just want a little bit that layer of privacy. But I think it can't be overstated how phenomenal this step will be to have AIs running on your own mobile phone.
A big personal goal is to make it a no-brainer. Like it's not any more difficult to run the model on your phone than it is to have an account with a third party like OpenAI. The aim would be that you can download an app and it's just there. You don't have to do any. You don't have to have any technical know-how. It will work just the same. But it's the source of the medium of where it's running is just locally instead of externally.
How do you think the big tech companies will either mitigate it, fight that, or pivot? I don't know. How do you see? Can you imagine how that might play out?
Again, in my head, I don't think they'll fight it, because I think it's naturally a race to the bottom. I mean, we're seeing it coming out of China, we're seeing it coming out of America. Again, Meta is very big on the open source stuff, and that's forcing other companies to do it as well. And what we're seeing is a race to the bottom, where again, when if you remember, GPT 3.5 came out from OpenAI, that was at the time the pioneering large language model. It used huge data centers and computer clusters to run it, and now we're able to run a model that is as intelligent as that, locally on your machine anyway. On my MacBook Pro, I can run that. It's approaching this level of intelligence in some ways, not always, but some ways. And it's a natural efficiency that you have to make, because GPT 3.5 running that, it's mega expensive, and running today's models like O3, from OpenAI, or Gemini Pro from Google, they're incredibly expensive to run. So it's a business, must to shrink the size and shrink the cost. So I think it's going to be an inevitability that these models will get smaller and smaller and more efficient, and that we'll be able to run them on the machines anyway. I think what will change is there will be a pivot to where you'll be able to use these models. There might be subscription models from the big providers, where you get constant updates. You don't have to worry about these things. And also just there'll be an increase in enterprise solutions. There'll always be a place for needing supercomputers and super intelligence to work on big mathematics problems, big science problems, new discovery, big data analysis. So I think the cloud solutions will remain. It's just their use case will change, and it will be used a lot more for enterprise and huge intelligence, computationally intensive tasks.
Interesting, brilliant. Well, listen, I think we should wrap that up. I think that's covered a few talking points. Not bad for our first show. So
rough around the edges.
Dust off the cobwebs.
Rough around the edges, but I think it was good.
Definitely. Well, listen, if any of you are still here hanging out with us, really appreciate you still being here. Hope you've got some value out of it. And you know what I'm going to ask. Please subscribe. Please like. Please start sharing it.
Put the banner thing up. The label thing. Do it.
Oh my God. You asked me to do it. What have we got here? Oh no, that's the wrong
one.
Oh no. Get away. Stop. This is where you like throwing a curveball. Oh, welcome. No, I can't even see it.
There you go.
Like and subscribe. There we go. Perfect. Yes, listen, guys, really appreciate it. Yes, absolutely. So, join us on this journey as we obviously hopefully get better. And go from there. All right, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.
Cheers for watching.